watch ESPN. Jordan Rodgers from The Bachelorette, former Vanderbilt quarterback, and also the brother of that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, who came with some serious quarterback predictions. Rodgers, now also a college football analyst with the SEC Network and a host for ESPN Radio, saying he would take Kirk Cousins over the former NFL MVP, Cam Newton.
Yes, he had an MVP year. Yes, they went 15-1. Yes, I believe he is the most talented physical specimen at that position in the history of the game. But there are a lot of good defensive coaches out there. You know what gets figured out? Athleticism. Kirk's had 2 full seasons, both over 4,000 yards, both over 2-to-1 interception ratio, both above 67 completion percentage. I'm just talking about those are top 10 quarterback numbers. Cam Newton had an unbelievable year, one of the most historic years of all time. 35 touchdowns. You can't argue against how talented he is. But you take every other season that he's been a starter, and it's in the middle of the pack. Cam Newton, his best throw is better than anybody's best throw. I'm going to say that right off the bat. But I will take consistency over volatile play any day of the week.
So Rodgers doesn't even think Cam is a top 10 quarterback. Joining us now, a man who knows a lot about elite quarterbacks, spending much of his career with them, Jeff Saturday. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Jeff, how much has Cam's stock dropped over the last season?
It has not dropped to me. I mean, listen, here's the Panthers' formula for winning, right? And we'll stack these in order. Defense, run game, play action pass. Those are the 3 points, right? You need to manage that. You need to understand that. Last year in defense, 21st, 26th in scoring defense. By the way, they ran 58% of their plays when they went to the Super Bowl with the lead. Past year, 45%. So you're running over half your plays behind. Tell me how rushing game and play action work when you're losing, all right? Now, I get he didn't have a great year. The guy takes a ton of shots now, a ton. And I understand against the Falcons, he made a bad decision, pulled off all those kinds of things. Every player has made ill-advised decisions. I'm not saying every one of his decisions is perfect. But what this guy gives you, whether he's in the pocket, whether he's outside the pocket, whether it's the read-run game, whether it's the screen game, whatever it is, he gives you so much more than other quarterbacks in our game. Now, does he need to work on parts of his craft? Absolutely. His accuracy, I'm one of the ones who criticize the most, right? I mean, people are talking about Victor Cruz potentially going there. The reason they got a bunch of really tall, long receivers, their range helps him, right? When he throws those jump balls, they can do that. But to pretend that he's not a special quarterback, I didn't say athlete, I said quarterback, I think is silly. What you're asking him to do to carry an offense, this offensive line is average at best. I think you saw that really get exposed in the Super Bowl, but definitely got exposed last year. And the way they were trying to take care of themselves when you're rushing it and you're averaging 4 yards a carry, that's 20th in the league, 4 yards a carry. You would not think the Carolina Panthers are built that way. Now, again, if you're asking your quarterback to throw it 50 times a game, you know you want a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, right? You want a guy dialed in. That's all he works on. But this is not all you're asking Cam Newton to do is be pinpoint accurate. You're asking him to run the ball, tote the team, do all these different things. And so I disagree completely with Jordan and where he is about his stock falling.
First of all, he had 45 touchdowns a year ago. I don't care how you get him on the ground, in the air, touchdowns and touchdowns. Worth the same number of points. It's not like, oh, he ran it in. Only give him 3 points for that one. Right? 45 touchdowns. Now, as with most quarterbacks, as with every quarterback, they get too much credit for the team's success, and they are discredited out of proportion when the team struggles. They went 15-1 and showed up in the Super Bowl. He was voted MVP.
Yep.
And people forget this already. In June or July, there was a player poll. Who's the best player in football?
Right.
Was it Tom Brady? No. Aaron Rodgers? No. A group of his peers said Cam Newton was the best player in football. Not who I want to start a franchise with, the best player in football. Now, was he? Maybe, maybe not. But we know he's not a bum.
No.
We know that a 6-win season isn't because of Cam Newton. That much we know. Now, has his stock fallen, and how much has it fallen? A lot. And by the way, buy low when the stock falls.
Absolutely.
Because at this moment, even if you think it was overvalued at the end of last year, it is severely undervalued this year. Let me tell you something, Kirk Cousins will never be voted by his peers the best player in football. Because doesn't have that upside.
Right.
I mean, but Cam Newton does. And I got to tell you something. before that Super Bowl, I thought of him as like Mickey Mantle. I thought of him as one of these athletes who's going along at a pretty good level, and will he ever really fulfill his ultimate potential? And then 1 year for Mickey Mantle, it was 1956, as it turns out.
Yeah.
And for Cam Newton, it was last year. He's like a Triple Crown winner. And now, he wasn't able to sustain it. A lot of that is the team and not Cam. Some of it's Cam. But if you think Cam isn't a bad, Stephen A., a bad man, you are mistaken.
So, in other words, Max, Cam's stock has fallen.
Yes, it has.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yep.
Because I was just making sure. I heard a lot of superlatives about him. I mean, but you're saying the stock is falling.
It's undervalued.
That's really where we're getting to. Where we're getting to is the fact that, look, we ain't having no conversation about Kirk Cousins compared to Cam Newton. Kirk Cousins needs to show me that he can show up in big games, win a playoff game, show up in big games that really count as opposed to padding your numbers. I like Kirk Cousins, but I need to see more from him in pressurized moments before he can even be in a conversation with Cam Newton. That's just how I feel about it. Having said all of that, that's a different subject. The question is, has Cam Newton's stock fallen? And the fact of the matter is, that answer would be yes. Last year was a very tough year. You go from 15-1 to 6-8 as a starter, okay? And the team goes 6-10. That's bad. When you throw 14 interceptions and just 19 touchdowns, that's very average. When you complete, 52% of his passes, 53% of his passes, that's not great, all right? That's not Tim Tebow-ish, my friend, but still, he struggled throwing. That's what it is. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm saying to myself, look, I hope that Cam, even though I thought that they could have done a better job coaching, I think that your GM letting go Josh Norman, not having any quality replacement ready to go, and that secondary severely compromised their defense, put the offense on its heels, put them, having them, forcing them to have to engage in an uphill climb. I didn't think that was good. That's not all Cam. But we can't ignore, look at the numbers, 53% passing, all right, completions. 3,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, a QBR of 53. We have to recognize the fact that this same Cam Newton has only completed better than 60% of his passes once in his entire career. We have to look at that, and we have to sit up there and say, based off of that and what happened last year, you are going to have people looking at Cam Newton right now and questioning whether or not he's still that dude. I believe he is. You guys believe he is. But the questions are legitimate nevertheless.
See, I disagree with that they're legitimate. The whole dynamic of football is complementary. And when you're running the type of offense that the Panthers run, he can't drop back, and you can't expect their team to score 28 points a game. That's not how they're built. So his touchdowns may never be the 35, the 40 again or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's because of what he has done. So people say, oh, it's Cam Newton's fault. To your point, Josh Norman leaving, the way their defense was operating, it was poor. So why not take chances at trying to do things to Cam that hadn't been done to him the year before? Because you got no fear. If you're a 25th plus defense and in scoring you're not stopping anybody,
but let me ask
you're
you
going to ask Cam to keep doing things you can't do.
Then answer the question straight up and down. Do you think that Cam Newton
stock is falling?
Had a down year?
Yes or no? I think the Panthers.
I know that. I'm asking you about Cam. Do you think he had a down year?
No, I think because of what he was asked to do, it exposed areas. Listen, if the year before that he was MVP, if their defense was that bad, I don't think his numbers are any different. I think all of it is interrelated. That's my point. Everybody wants to single out
quarterback value,
you're taking out Cam Newton as a player and saying, listen, and once you're pressing and you're asking him to press, that's my point. Is people go, yeah, his stock's falling, because you're asking him to do something that he's not equipped or capable of doing. That's the problem. He doesn't have the same weapons. He doesn't have the same system. Listen, go to Washington where you're talking about Kirk Cousins. That ball will get out of his hands in 3 seconds. He ain't taking 150, 140, 150 hits.
So what Cam was asked to do this year, he wasn't asked to do the year before?
No, he was asked to do much more last year than he was in 2015. Much more. He was asked much more. I mean, turn the tape on. When you're losing over half of the time that you're trying to score, the emphasis goes on to offense, and you begin to press. You don't have the quality line or receivers.
By the way, the receivers weren't exactly running crisp routes, to say the least.
Thank you. That's my point, is the system's not built for that.
The best receivers, the tight end, the best back is Cam Newton, the quarterback.
Right. That's trouble.
Let's keep it moving, guys. Stephen A., don't be upset. But the Bears are actively looking to trade your favorite quarterback, Jay Cutler, according to our Jeff Darlington. So teams around the league have now been made aware of Cutler's availability as the Bears attempt to garner draft compensation for their 8-year starter. And those conversations are expected to heat up during next week's scouting combine. Stephen A., I'm going to make a committed journalism